head to QVCC after a gap year, where I want to develop my writing and art skills even more. One day, I hope to publish a novel or direct a film, since those are two things I've always dreamed of doing. Finally, Jaden's message to the school community is, I would like to say how grateful I am for being nominated by such an incredible selection of people. With a special thanks to the best friend I could ever hope for, Ariel Copus. The fact I was even considered for this is still crazy to me. To anyone who thinks that no one sees their kindness and efforts, someone always will, and finding gratification in helping others for the sake of it will always be more fulfilling than expecting something out of it. And unfortunately, Jaden couldn't make it tonight.
Okay, and as for the actual student report, I'll start off with our current events. So the 2nd of November was the Thompson Economical Development Commissioner and business owner, Brian Yacino, kicking off the Pathway Speaker Series in our library. November 3rd was the Turtle Out Student Leadership in Service. November 4th is the Junior College Info Night. November 11th is Professional Development for Staff. November 23rd is Powder Puff and Ball Drop. November 24th through 26th is Thanksgiving break, and December 1st is the winter concert. We did not have any new student voice forms this month, but we do have an update in regards to the leadership team. Mrs. Smith informed Mr. Joyce and Mrs. Zula about an opportunity for the TSLT called Voice for Change. The Connecticut State Department of Education is allowing students in participating schools to propose and vote on how to use $1.5 million in federal relief funds and decide how they should be spent in order to reimagine CT schools. Mr. Joyce and Mrs. Ouellette opted into this program this week on behalf of the TSLT, and we will hear more from the state of Connecticut about the program in the coming days. And while we are up here, I figured we would follow up on the question we asked last week, which was, how would you like to see the role of the student liaison expand?
Thank you.
Did you hear her?
Kathleen?
Yeah.
I think can you hear me? Sorry. I think the last time when we had the meeting, we talked about getting the middle school involved. I don't know if you arranged that meeting yet, but I think that'd be a really nice addition to it. And maybe even like having some type of a relationship with all 3 schools. That would be something I would like to see as my last meeting at the Board of Ed, sorry.
Right, and in remembering what we had talked about, I don't think I asked, would you want us to initiate that communication with the lower schools, or would that be more on the part of the board to start that sort of initiation?
I think it would be very proactive as the board liaisons that you would coordinate that, whether you work directly through the principals, again, being respectful of their time, and also on the selection of the students.
Yeah, certainly we can get something started for next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 2 sets of minutes to approve, one from our October 6th special meeting and one from our October 13th regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
I second that emotion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to accept the October 6th minutes. Any discussion on these minutes? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the vote passes. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the October 13th regular meeting?
Go for it, Jody.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion made by Donna.
I'll accept.
Motion seconded by Jody. Any discussion on these minutes? Hearing none, I'll put the motion to the floor for a vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes of October 13th, 2021, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any nay? Any abstentions? The vote passes unanimously. Are there any subcommittee updates? I have one from the Turtle Lot Trustees Board of Directors. We did hand in our calendar for the year of 2022 meetings. We have one regular meeting, the first Monday in February. It is an open meeting to the public. And that was handed in to the town clerk.
And Kathleen, to go on with the Turtle Lot trustees, we will be scheduling a quick meeting within the next coming weeks to act on, I don't see Bill Birch, but there's an amendment that needs to be made to the payment schedule to Cronenberger for the window project.
This isn't a subcommittee, but the Thompson Historical Society, which I attended last Thursday, has applied for a grant to purchase, and I'm not sure of the new term for it, but it's audiovisual equipment for the Riscavich Auditorium in the 1909 building, to bring that up to date. They applied for a $10,000 grant, so they're going to do the best that they can. And they will, and I talked to Melinda, and she's given her permission that Heather Burns work with them, Heather and Tracy work with them. They want to make it Zoom accessible and get better state of the art as much as we can, or they can, so that they can hold, Joe Aramatino's been doing some presentations in there, and the sound system is pretty bad, as we all know. So they will pay for it with a grant, and that we, as the school board or any school function, will be able to use it. So hopefully that grant comes through, and he's pretty confident that it will. That's all I have to say under that. Any others? No, and then I will turn it over to Superintendent Smith for her reports.
Okay, I'd like to invite up Ben Barber. He is our security coordinator, because we want to recognize some very special students who participated in the walking school bus. Ben, if you want to come up so you can shake hands with our students. So we received a grant from the state, written by the town, Tira Pengezik, myself, to create a healthy way to get kids to school. And it was really coinciding with the whole new sidewalk project. And the sidewalk project got a little bit delayed, and the grant came in. And so we decided that we would implement the program during National Walk to School Day, which was October the 6th. At the very same time, we had the bus driver shortage. And I think that there was some confusion out there that we were asking students to walk to school compensate for the shortage of bus drivers, which wasn't true. We had planned this over a year ago. But these 5 students every day for a month walked to school to Mary R. Fisher. They met Mr. Barber and another security officer, and along the way walked to school every single day. And I would like to call up those students. Mr. Barber, if you could come in the front, and Mr. Prentice. Maricela Fernandez, Heaven Cubey, Kevin McDonald, Kilani Gonzalez, and Jacob Racine. If you're here this evening, come on up.
That's so cool.
So cute. So cute. Come on up. And so, Mr. Barber, I don't know if you want to say a few words about the program and the students, but every day you met the students for a month and walked to school with them. And I know you had a lot of positive experience about the whole walking school bus.
We had 5 of us. They were there every day, waiting for us. Walk up that hill.
That's
Down those guys, coming up those stuff. They did it.
every
And I think
day.
that, yeah, I think we need to do more, like to see those more this happen. Maybe spread it even farther. We did just 12 now to see how it go at a pilot program. But I think if you open it up, you kind of figure out a way to get over the rest of the town involved. You'll probably get a lot more kids involved.
And, you know, maybe once the new sidewalks are in, a way to safely cross Route 12, because there's a lot of children that live on the opposite side of the street that certainly would like to ride their bike. But we want to say, good job to all of you. I'd like to take your picture, if you don't mind, with Mr. Barber and Mr. Prentice. And Mrs. Pedersen forgot our certificates on her desk, so she's going to bring them down to you tomorrow, Mr. Prentice. And we'll give you your certificates, but I want to get a nice picture. Mom and Dad, you don't mind, do you?
So cute.
Good job, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome job, guys.
Mr. Barber, were there any stop-offs at Dunkin' Donuts on the way? Were there any stop-offs at Dunkin' Donuts on the way up the hill? Next time.
And then we also have another group of students we really want to recognize this evening. Ms. Pedersen, is Mr. Knoll on Zoom? Okay, Mr. Knoll didn't know if he could join us this evening, but I know Ms. Pedersen has a PowerPoint. And now Mr. Knoll, Jerry Knoll, the art teacher at Thompson Middle School, and Mrs. Furbush, the art teacher at Mary R. Fisher, was challenged by our first selectman, Amy St. Ange, to come out and take a look at the Thompson Animal Control Shelter and see if there could be some beautification to that space. And so with the help of the following students, and if you're here, we'd love for you to come up: Sahara Moore, McKenna Sheridan, Amelia Duquette, Emma Michael, and Caitlin Mercer, if you're here, to come to the front. And we're going to show some artwork, some pictures of what you did to the animal shelter. And so there's the before and after, as you can see, and it looks quite lovely. They did a great job on the exterior. And then on the interior, where the dogs are actually housed inside, they transformed that space into little dog houses and brightened it up. And they spent, how much time did you girls spend there? Do you remember? 3 days, you did that in 3 days? And so all of the dog runs got beautified, and the exterior did as well. There's a picture of the students. And Mr. Knoll and Mrs. Furbush is in there somewhere too. So we want to say a special thank you. That is ultimate community service, and that's what we want to see. We want to see our students out in the community sharing their talents, and we are so proud of the work that you did. So congratulations to all of you. Thank you. And again, Mrs. Pedersen will bring down your certificates tomorrow. We forgot them on her desk. All right, so we'll bring them to school tomorrow, but I want to get your picture as well. Do you mind standing right over there?
I will. Well, the other one's left, I know. Okay, great job, girls. Great job.
Beautiful job, ladies.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And Mr. Knoll and Mrs. Furbush, if you're out there, thank you.
I want to let everyone know that there's a lovely little black dog there called Raven, and he's looking for a home, and he's so sweet.
So if any of the parents and the students want to go home at this time and get some homework done, you're more than welcome to leave, or you could stay for the rest of the meeting. Totally up to you.
I'm sure you have a lot of homework, and finals are coming up shortly, so go on home and do your homework. Okay, the enrollment report?
So we currently have 936 students total in Thompson Public Schools. That's up one student from last month. We had a gain of one student at Mary R. Fisher, and we currently have a total of 415 students. We have two students gain from Thompson Middle School at an even 300. And we did reduce two students at Turtle Lot Memorial High School. So the grand total, 936 students at this time.
Melinda,
Yes.
can I ask a question?
Sure.
How are we doing on the kids that were basically lost through the pandemic? I mean, is there any accountability coming with that? Like, are there students out there that aren't attending school that should be?
Not that we're aware of. I think we've made contact with most of those families. There was a few that were MIA, and we've tried to locate them through their SIS number and know that they've moved. Some didn't tell us that they left the district, but for the most part, the social workers did a lot of work this summer, trying to re-engage with, and the guidance counselors re-engage with those families. So for the most part, we have everyone accounted for. That doesn't mean that those students that were home for 18 months, don't need additional supports, and that's what the schools are busy providing right now.
Okay, great, thanks.
Melinda? So out of the 70 that are homeschooled,
Correct?
I don't know if you have this answer, but I'm assuming that the 70, well, there was a percentage obviously that were homeschooled prior to the pandemic.
Yes.
So out of that 70, if we had all 70, our enrollment would be 1,006.
Correct.
Do you know out of that 70, how many were homeschooled from the pandemic? Like, what was our starting point?
So prior to, and I can look back on the spreadsheet, but prior to the pandemic, we were teetering around 50 students. And then we've had so much movement in and out with homeschool students. As a matter of fact, just this past week and a half, I've had a couple of homeschool parents contact me, asking me when the mask mandate is going to be over. And as far as we know, Governor's Order 13G says that until February, right, his executive orders run out. I hear that he's going to leave it to local districts by that time. I guess everyone's going to be watching the metrics, of course, but I've had 2 or 3 families reach out and say, well, they want to start transitioning their children back in because they just feel that, the right thing to do. So it's interesting that they'll be coming back in. They'll still have to be under the mask mandate. And I think they're hoping that it might be lifted by that time. But there are people looking to come back. But that number is an in and out number. And it's been that way really due to the pandemic. Once we came back last year, we saw children going in and out multiple times over the course of the year.
So the second part of that, and I know I've asked this multiple times, and I know you've given me the date, but at my age, I kind of forget. What is the date when we report the numbers to the state, which sets our funding?
October 1st, and then there's a follow-up in the spring and March, but the October 1st number is the first report they get from us. And then they get a second number in March, and they use those 2 numbers to determine our state aid.
Okay, thank you.
But we are on that data I mean, we have a data manager for a reason. That's why
Right.
she's tracking where these children are going and where they're at. And as a matter of fact, maybe about 2 months ago, I had her go back and double check on the numbers for homeschool. And remember, parents don't necessarily have to tell us, that they're going to homeschool or submit any kind of curriculum. And many just say they're withdrawing their child to homeschool and that's it. But there is a form that we ask parents to fill out. It isn't mandatory by Connecticut statute, but many parents do fill it out and we have it on file. So at least we know those children are home and they're homeschooling. But it was nice to hear that some of the parents are starting to think about bringing their children back in this school year. So I'm happy about that.
Thank you.
That is, okay, the COVID testing update.
Yes. Under that umbrella of COVID, first of all, I wanted to give everyone an update on the COVID testing. We have received our supplies for on-site testing for the individuals that test once a week. We have gone through training. There's been a snafu with getting into their software program over the past couple of weeks. As a matter of fact, the courier came today to pick up our samples, so Monday will be the day, except we didn't have any samples because their online system wasn't up and running, but Shannon and Heather are going to address that tomorrow, and I'm really hoping that next Monday is our first day to do on-site staff testing. We do have a vaccine clinic for students ages 5 to 11, and we partnered with Woodstock Public Schools, Putnam Public Schools, primarily because when we surveyed our parents, 80% of the parents did say that they would prefer not to vaccinate their children at this time. So the number was low. We only had 323 parents, which is typical for our surveys, respond, and 63 did say that they would like to have their children vaccinated. So we partnered with the other 2 public schools and we're offering a clinic. The clinic will be in Putnam. It's this Friday from 12 to 6. And the good news is that our teachers who, if they would like to get a booster shot, either Pfizer or Moderna, can also go to that clinic and get their booster shot on Friday afternoon. So school will dismiss early so that our teachers can get that much needed booster. And then they need to return to work, and we're going to use the rest of the time for professional work. So we are also entering into a program called Screen and Stay. And the purpose of Screen and Stay is to reduce the number of days that children or staff for that matter have to quarantine out of school. Shannon has been doing a remarkable job. We had started with a 14-day quarantine period last year. We dropped it down to 10 based on CDC guidelines. And we're one of the few districts in the region that our quarantine time is down to 7 days. Shannon does some really careful contact tracing to make sure that if we're going to ask a family to quarantine their child at home, it's the least amount of children as possible. So we're hoping that the Screen and Stay will help. It has all sorts of convoluted rules associated with it. And we have a Department of Health meeting tomorrow because Shannon and I have a few questions, and we're hoping to get those questions answered. But once they are, the idea of Screen and Stay is that a parent will verify that their child doesn't have any of the symptoms of COVID, and then even if they're unvaccinated, but they wore a mask and they were either in the classroom or on a bus and they were exposed to COVID, they could still come to school and not be quarantined as long as the parent checks the signs and symptoms every day. So what we've set up is on our website under the Parent Resource tab, there is a link to a survey that will refresh every day that a parent will go in, put their child's name in, and then just check off that their child doesn't have any of those symptoms. And then that report goes automatically to Shannon and she can download that and she'll have verification that the parent actually screened the child. If the child comes to school and is part of Screen and Stay and didn't do that checklist, then the child has to be sent home. But we're hoping that that will even minimize more children and have them in school rather than having them at home. We're seeing those gaps in learning by having children out for even a week is problematic. And so we're hoping Screen and Stay helps us out. We have a few logistical issues that we want to talk to the Department of Health with tomorrow, but we're ready to go. So as soon as we get our questions answered tomorrow, we'll be sending out information to the families about Screen and Stay. So I'm excited about that because that's just one more step closer to getting back to school as usual.
Melinda,
Yes.
there's another question. There seems to be a little bit of conflict on this age group 5 to 11. I've seen it say 5 to 11, but other sites like the partner school, I think Putnam, saying that it included anyone over the age of 12 too. Can you clarify if that's true or not, or if it's just strictly 5 to 11?
That I'll find out tomorrow. I know they have Pfizer and Moderna booster shots for adults. I wasn't told that they would have the shots for 12 to 17-year-olds, the full shots, but I can look into that. And if they can, I'll certainly send out that message to families.
Is the
We've
dose,
had-
is the
we've had-
dosing different? Like,
Please?
yeah,
Yes.
5 to 11 is different than the 12 to,
It's a different,
17.
it's a different dosage.
Yep.
Yeah.
but I have seen that. So, because it's Putnam where it's being held, correct? For Woodstock and Thompson?
Correct.
If you could just clarify that, that would be great.
Yep, I will tomorrow. Should, anybody else have a question? No? Okay. Do you want me to go to the next thing?
Security update?
Yep, the security program update and budget transfer. So our security department has evolved since we first put the program into play. If we can think back several years, we had one security coordinator on during the day only. And then we had somebody in the facility at night, either one or two security officers, dependent upon what was happening in the school facility. And then, of course, COVID hit and security became our backup people. They were delivering lunches, they were distributing materials, they were running Chromebooks all over town. Whatever we needed them to do, they actually did it. And so rolling into last school year, especially with the volume of traffic that came up on the campus because parents were fearful of putting their children on a bus, we needed, and we've gone through many configurations of running the traffic on this campus, and I think we've got it down to a system. But at this point, we need crossing guards at strategic places around the campus because of the volume of cars. And not only that, but during the school day, we're having more and more incidents where we need security support for some of the behavioral concerns that we're seeing this year, as some of those children have transitioned back to school and are having some difficulty managing the school day. And so we anticipate at this moment in time, if we keep our current staff in place that we're using right now, we have a security person in each school. And then we have several outside that run the traffic in the morning and in the afternoon. And so Ben's done a future projection for the remainder of this year, and he's about $35,000 short in his budget. And remember that the coordinator comes out of the Board of Ed side, and then the time for the security officers comes from the town side. But we are going to come up short, and so I asked Bob to look into the budget, and he did identify some funds that we could shift to cover that expenditure. I think it's needed. And the money would come from the fact that we only have 13 students right now going to Killingly VOAG, so we're going to save some money there. We always budget for 26 or 27 students, and we're hoping to transfer that money to cover the additional offices for this year. Ben's here. I asked him to come tonight in case you had any questions, but I am asking the board to consider that because I think it's definitely needed. And we are, and I can look at my principals here who are relying on security every day to help them out. So I don't know if anyone has any questions of me or Ben.
Melinda?
Yeah.
Are there no COVID funds that would cover this 35,000 since it,
I can't hear that, Jody.
COVID funds?
So not really, because we kind of sketched out everything. And so I was able to move around the money for Vision to Learn. But I don't see that kind of COVID funds left for this year. We never know until we get closer to the end of the year. And maybe we can find some funds there. But I just want the board to be aware that the coverage is really necessary. And I think that is something we're going to have to discuss with the town when we move toward budget on how we want to handle the additional security costs. Because not only are we covering our own programs, but there are certain programs that are using our facility from the community. We're not going to charge them for the security, but we want them to be safe. So we have to put on some extra detail even at night at times. But for the most part, the extra cost is for the daytime, the extra security during the day and for the traffic control.
Bill?
How is this going to affect next year's budget? Is this a one-time thing or do you, when I suggested this, the security, I didn't envision what was happening this year with the COVID and them, delivering lunches and stuff. That's not what I had in mind. But I see the need for it because frankly, it was my idea to bring the security in here. But is this a one-time thing? Or are we going to have to budget? And then you brought up a good point about using the facilities. Do we need to revisit the usage fee? Because now there's security in the building and rather than charging $100, should it be $150 because we have security here now?
Right. So I think once people feel more comfortable putting their children back on the buses, right? I mean, with the driver shortage, some parents have just said, I'm just bringing my kid to school. I'm not going to deal with that anymore. And so with the driver shortage compounded with the fear of COVID, I think there are buses that don't run full. I see them. I'm hoping that the volume of traffic, then how many cars do we get up here on a given day for each school? 200 a day. So we have somebody counting cars every day as they come up the hill. That's not his only job, but we keep track of that. So it's about 200 a day that are coming up on campus. Those children, typically, when I first started, most of the children came in on the buses. And that's not happening this year. So I don't know if that's going to change next year, but I do think that we have to add more money into the budget to cover some of the additional security needs. I'm hoping to cut that back, but I still see a need during the day to have security on site for some of the issues that we're seeing this school year. So I didn't answer your question really, but we are going to have.
No, but there's, I guess, a bigger discussion going forward. And let's face it, once you have the extra security, you're never going to get rid of them, never. Because everybody's going to feel safe and everybody's going to want to keep them there. So it's never going to be scaled back. Even if they're running, and I don't necessarily have a problem with it. But it's going to affect our budgets that we can't pass every year. So we have to kind of weigh what's best. And we need teachers. I love the security guys, but we need teachers in the school first and foremost.
Correct. So I'm hoping that we're going to be able to scale back what we're doing right now and to a place where it's, I'm not going to say return to just one security guard during the school day, but the outside traffic control, I'm really hoping that we can scale that back. I don't know, Ben, you want to say something?
Yeah. To add to Bill's comments, for this program, when I first put this program together,
Can you come to the microphone, Ben? Because people.
Mosley and I sat down and we worked out some numbers. We had no idea what we were going to need, for funds. And the amount that we came up with was based on just evening coverage. Okay. So now, mind you, this is year 3 for this program. and the same amount of money is still there. But we're doing probably 10 times the amount of work that we did when we first started. When I met with the board and to discuss the program, I was asked for a 3-year plan. And the plan was to add a officer in each school for 3 years consecutively. This would have been year 1. Okay? And with the budgets being combined, it fell through the cracks. No one had pursued it. I had asked them to increase the amount of money that they put out for the town, the town puts out for the officers every year. But everybody looked at everybody else and nobody was sure where and how to do that. So as a result, we've spent against this money time and time again, as Melinda knows, as she pointed out. Times are different now. Things are different. So your point is well taken. Do you put the money in the budget? We can scale back. And I think at some point we will revisit this, and we probably will. Right now, I can't do that because of what's going on up here. I will, I crunch the numbers almost daily. So I can assure you that when I can cut back, we will. But right now, I can't tell you what that number will be consistently or where the money would come from if we were going to stay the way we are. I don't anticipate staying the way we are. I do right now, but not long term. I hope that that answer your question for the most part, or because you remember in my 3-year plan, right?
It gives me an idea of the way you're thinking.
Right.
And I agree with you. I
Right.
don't disagree with anything.
No, I know you don't.
It's just that, it's money.
It is. Yeah, I know. And that's been the situation from the start. We've made do with what we had so far, so hopefully we can just keep it going.
Yeah, and during COVID, during the shutdown and beyond, there were the funds that we did tap into
Right.
to cover, like, when we use them for what they're not hired for, right? To deliver lunch and Chromebooks
But we did isolation coverage too.
and isolation coverage. So we did tap into COVID funds for that
Right.
under the
Mhm.
other buckets of money that
Right.
we got, the CARES and all of that. So we did utilize those funds to cover for the extra time, but I didn't anticipate that we would have as many children still riding on the bus this year, quite honestly. I mean, being driven to school. And I
Well,
think
yeah,
that the
it's about
shortage,
25% or more being dropped off every day. And I thought the numbers would drop. Melinda and I both did, but they haven't. They've actually increased. And the elementary school is on the 120, 130 a day now. And if we hadn't wrapped them around the school like we did, we would have been in a world of beans on Route 12. And now I have to look at the other one. The other one's starting to become an issue now, which is middle school and high school. They drop off at 7:15. Elementary's an hour after that. So, and the campus is just full of cars for that entire time. We have kids out doing mass breaks, so there's a lot that has to be dealt with, a lot of moving parts. We manage it good so far. We'll be all right when we stay where we are.
You guys are doing a great job. I drop my daughter off every day and
Thank you.
it's a good
Yeah,
drop-off situation.
it worked.
Yeah.
No,
it was a lot of trial and error, but we
It
got
was.
there.
that's it.
Good.
I just wanted to ask a question about that. So, I understand that he's talking about the number of vehicles that are up here on campus daily, and they are doing a great job. But my question is this: we can't forget on day-to-day inside the building. You look at the news, you look at across, you probably even hear about it in your own home, what's happening with the students. We've cut for behavioralists, we've looked at guidance, we looked at other things, the kids are struggling, the parents are struggling, and of course it affects our administrators. So we have to remember, security is not only here for the buses, sorry. They're not only here for buses and for, traffic control. We also have to maintain the security and safety of all of our students and staff, and I can't say that enough. Thank you.
It's a bittersweet because, when I ran for the board, 16 years ago or whatever it was now, part of it has always been that we wanted to provide a safe learning experience for the students as well as the staff. And unfortunately, with all the way things are going, and when I was a student here, we had issues too. But the issues that are going on now, it's a shame. And unfortunately, security has to play a role in that. because the teachers can't provide what we had when we were here, which was the teachers were basically enforcers, along with the principal and the vice principals. And God forbid, you didn't want to go home if you were in trouble at school. And that doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. And I hear some of the stories from students, from staff, and it comes down to one word, which is respect. And it's a shame. And I hope there's parents listening, because it starts at home. You have to respect who you are, who your teachers are, and what they stand for. When I left my house, when I was a student, my parents always said, your name is Angelo. It's intact when you leave this house, and it better be intact when you get home. And unfortunately, that doesn't exist anymore. So my hats are off to all of the staff, including the security. Thank you.
Linda, do you find that, or speaking to other schools, are they dealing with a lot of the same behavioral issues with kids coming back from COVID?
So it's,
Breakdown?
it's a national crisis with students that have had to transition back to school. But yes, I've talked to the area superintendents. They're seeing the same exact behaviors that we're seeing. You know, one of our guidance counselors said it best. Last year was an anomaly, right? The children came back. They were always scared that they were going out on the next day, going home to be remote, and they were pretty well grateful just to be here. And this year, we see a different type of student, especially those that have been home for 18 months, that have come back and are having a hard time readjusting and the stamina. And what she said was she was happy to see some of the behaviors coming out because those were typical adolescent behaviors. However, they're intensified to a degree that we've not experienced before. And I see Kim shaking her head and Nate shaking his head. And so we're working with our support service providers, and thank goodness that we've gotten a little reprieve with the federal dollars to bring in other social workers and support coordinators. And so together, we're problem solving and trying to support children, wrap around services. We want to make school an enjoyable place for all of the children, for the children who are always doing the right thing. We want them to have a really good experience. For the other children that are still struggling, we want to give them the appropriate support. And it's a balancing act every day. We had a meeting today. Our safety and security team talked about that. I've had the support providers together in a meeting. They're meeting again on Thursday during the professional development time so that we can problem solve through this. But the answer is yes, and it's not unique to Thompson. I think it's just unique to the COVID experience. And it's hard. These kids don't have the stamina sometimes to make it even through the whole school day. And so what do we put up front? Do we worry about their social emotional well-being and then put the academics on the back burner? We're trying to balance that. We're supposed to teach kids, but we also want them to be safe and comfortable in school. So it's been challenging this year more so than last.
Melinda? And I think you have to add to that, it's just not in elementary, middle, and high school. This is apparent in the colleges. Even what's gone on in the last couple of weeks at WPI, there's been some really sad situations. And I think, I serve on a mental health board as well. And the rate of young people having mental and social emotional disconnect is huge. It's absolutely huge. And I think it's almost to the point where, I see Ben, I can just imagine with 200 cars, I wonder if the people maintain their composure. If you get a lot of people that, they get frustrated. I can't even imagine 200 cars up here. Everyone can't be happy that they're in a car behind 199 other people. So
That's the reason why we have to be out.
I know. And I see, you see road rage every day. I'm not saying that there's road rage up at the school, but I can imagine that, with just the complexities of getting up the hill, dropping the student off, some kids are probably quicker out of the car than others. And you just add to all of that impatience and whatever else is going on. And, the moving parts are huge, absolutely huge. And if anyone has a pulse on what's going on nationally, this is a national situation. This is not just Thompson, Connecticut. or any of the other regional schools, which are all having the same type of issues. And I also think you add to that, a lot of those kids were maybe not on the computer for school every day, and they had an amount of freedom, an enormous amount of freedom. And once you get freedom and trying to put somebody's thumbprint back on you to adhere to rules and follow things, it must be huge. So I recognize it, and I hope that someday we can fall back into a situation that's a little more leveled out, but I just don't see it in the coming couple of years. Thank you.
Okay, so let's recap this. You want us to approve the hiring of a traffic security guard for,
No, just to increase Ben's budget by 35,000, so he'll have enough till the end of the year. I can still certainly look at COVID dollars too, as we get closer to the end of the school year and transfer funds to that.
so we need to make a motion then to increase the budget.
Transfer from BOAG to security.
Pardon me?
Transfer from BOAG tuition to security.
Kathleen,
Yes.
I'll make the motion, but can I just ask one quick thing? Is there any use of the ARPA funds for this or no?
So yeah, that's all that, under that
Okay.
COVID
That's all under the
umbrella.
same umbrella?
Motion to transfer
Yep.
from BOAG tuition to security.
So I make the motion that we transfer the appropriate funds from the VOAG program to cover the expenditures, the excess expenditures in the security fund.
I second Donna.
Okay, Donna seconds it. Okay. All right,
Just a question.
Too late.
any further discussion on? Yes.
Is that to a maximum of 35?
Yes.
Okay, maximum of 35. We have a motion on the floor to transfer from the BOAG tuition to the security budget, a maximum of $35,000. Okay, am I correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
to cover the continuing expenditures of the security department.
And this is one time this year.
Pardon me?
This is one-time transfer this year.
Correct, to the end of this year. Now, if we do decide, and if it does work, we would have to put it in our budget, in the security budget for next year.
Or there's got to be a discussion with the town on how we can split the funds
That's,
that would be equitable to both of us.
Melinda?
You want me to change
We
my
have
motion?
discussions with the town on the security budget.
Do you want me to add that to the motion?
No,
Okay.
that's understood. We would have to do that.
Melinda,
Yes,
is the town aware of the fact that we may approach them on this?
Not at this time.
One third of the
I think
selectmen
they
is
do
sitting
now.
here.
The second selectman sitting here, though.
yeah, they're aware now.
Think she's
And
aware
Amy's
now.
Amy's on
Amy's on
Zoom,
Zoom.
so she's heard.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But this takes us to the end of the year. And if we do decide that it does work out and we anticipate the continued heavy volume of traffic, we'll discuss this during our budget season.
Traffic and behavioral.
And, yeah,
Thank
traffic and school
And school
incidents.
In
needs.
school.
And
And
school
school
needs,
security,
please.
yes.
Thank you.
I'm leaving that out, I'm sorry, but I intended,
Nope, you're fine.
we do need to include that. If we anticipate the level of incidents and traffic, we need to discuss that during our budget, which is coming up soon. Okay, now, I will put the motion to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All abstain, any abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay. Who's going to do the solar update?
Not me. Mr. Birch.
Mr. Birch.
Bill?
Mr. Birch?
Timekeeper.
Oh, I'm glad you came
I
back
don't
because
care
you
which
can do
bill
it.
does it, but one of you bills are going to do it. That's not on?
It's on.
Okay, it's on. So this is where we are with the solar update. You will recall that last year, there was a proposal by the Connecticut Green Bank, which is a quasi-state agency to provide the school department with a purchase power agreement that they would build a system on our property. They would sell us electricity for a reduced rate over a time period of maybe 20 or 25 years. However, as in the past, that proposal came forward kind of at the 11th hour where a decision was needed by this board and the town on a very short time frame. And at that time, you folks decided not to move forward with that. So before we end up in March and April again, Connecticut Green Bank has come back. They would like to come to this board and put on their presentation and let you know what it is they have to offer so that you and the town can make an informed decision on whether or not you want to move forward with a project like this.
Could I just add to that, that the building committee invited them back to discuss it. So they've already discussed this with the building committee, and the building committee has agreed to move forward, but it has to come to the Board of Ed first, because everybody thinks that it's time that we do something.
Okay, so the building committee has approved of this? And so then the next step would be to schedule them to do a presentation to the Board of Ed or the town?
To the Board of Ed.
Okay, to the Board of Ed and then the town.
No, this has nothing to do with the town.
Nothing?
This will be an agreement between the Green Bank and the school, just
Okay.
like we buy electricity, we don't buy it through the
Okay.
town.
I understand.
And so,
we,
and it's just, it would be on school grounds. So it's a Board of Ed
okay, so
decision.
there's no capital involved. It's just us paying.
It's no money out of our pockets at all.
Other than the cost of the electricity that we buy from them.
Right, and which will be at a reduced rate.
Right.
And the savings over the 20 years was supposed to be like $500,000 or something like that. So I don't remember the
Okay,
numbers,
that's
but
fair, that's
it
fair.
was no,
But there is a savings to us.
there's a savings.
over what we're currently buying electricity.
They're going to build the whole thing. They're going to maintain the whole thing. And we're going to save money. It's just a Board of Ed thing.
Okay, ladies before gentlemen.
Bill, can I ask a question? Is this a mountable on the building type of unit, or is it on the grounds, a ground level type? Do you
No,
know?
this is a ground mount. The building committee pretty much rejected anything mounted on the roof.
Okay, and do you know number of panels, how much land we're talking about?
I can't tell you exactly the amount of land, but we're talking about, I believe it's 850 kilowatts. It's a little under a meg. And the location is down below the soccer field, between the soccer field and the softball field.
Thank you, Bill.
So because we have, I think, one of the best relationships right now with the town and the school, would it not make sense to have the selectmen and possibly the Board of Finance involved? And the reason why I'm saying this is, if we're going to be having this much power, should we also consider tying in the town hall to power the town hall? With the town hall being, as I said, we have one of the best relationships right now between different boards.
Well, Amy was at the meeting, and unfortunately, we cannot build a system that would feed all of the town buildings. We can only build something that will take care of this facility right now, as far as we know. So the selectmen are aware of it. Because there's no cost to the town whatsoever, it doesn't need to go to the Board of Finance. And frankly, the more people we get involved, the longer it's going to take and delay this whole thing. And we've been talking about this for what, Bill, 15, 20 years almost?
I think since
Yeah,
I came on the board.
That's pretty close. It's about 2004.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right. So will we do this at what meeting? Can we do this for the next meeting?
Bill, what meeting did you want them here? Next meeting?
I would suggest the sooner the better.
Oh,
Okay. So can you set it up for the next meeting? For our
Sure.
December meeting?
sure.
Okay.
Now that you got the clock all repaired, you can work on solar.
Can you get a solar clock?
The clock set itself this week.
Perfect. Yeah, because it was wrong for 6 months.
All right, our vision screening.
So Vision to Learn was out last week and they screened our children, and at Mary R. Fisher Elementary School, 54 students did fail the vision test. And so they will be receiving a full eye exam. At Turtle Up Memorial High School, 62 students will receive a full eye exam. And at Thompson Middle School, 52 students will receive a full eye exam for a number of 168 students. And remember that those eye exams are comprehensive. They're about a half hour long. And so we're waiting to get dates to schedule those. But, many of the comments, especially Shannon, who was present at the high school, many of the students reported that some of them did have glasses, but they hadn't been to the eye doctor in years. Their glasses were broken or lost, or they don't know where they're very old. And so students were actually very happy to receive the vision screening, which I wouldn't have thought that was going to be a positive thing for high schoolers, but it was. We're working with Vision to Learn, and I will say this, that Shannon told me that they were extremely professional. They used computer technology to do the vision screening. She said they were thorough, precise, and great to work with. So, Shannon holds everything to a high standard. So, and I don't know, the principals are here, you were there. So I don't know if you have anything else to chime in, and it went quick too. It went fairly quick.
Very good. Okay. I'm going to move on to our administrator report. So I'm going to start with the high school. It will be Dr. Nate Mayo. Danielle, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to go over just three quick things with you guys. National Honor Society had the homelessness awareness night. It ran from 6 to midnight, and we raised just under $2,000 to donate to Teague. On the 21st, there was October 21st, there were two big things. We inducted 47 members into this year's FBLA during our annual installment ceremony, which happened in the auditorium. I know the superintendent was there. It's a nice event. Unfortunately, I was at professional development, so I was unable to see it. But that night, we also held our expo night for 7th and 8th grade students. A little bit of information on Turtle. So I thought that went pretty well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Kim, please, Kim Granado with the middle school.
Good evening, everyone. So we ended the month with a PTO sponsored a movie night for all our students, and they had a fantastic time. It was so great to see the kids come out and enjoy some time socially. We also had a great turnout for our parent conferences. We had a lot of parents show up, and Mrs. Placzek and myself got to have the opportunity to meet some parents and talk to them about how the school year was going. So we had some positive outreach on that. We had our second PBIS assembly, and we just want to congratulate Western Connecticut University for earning 12,602 PBIS points. Mrs. Grow and Mr. Leclerc and the Students Council put together a tribute to the veterans, which all the students in our school will be watching on November 10th. And today we had from Teague has sponsored a program with internet safety. And so we had a state trooper here today talking to all our students, and they will finish tomorrow. So all our students in the middle school would have had an internet safety course. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry Prentice. For the elementary, Mary R. Fisher.
Sorry, I'm a little vertically challenged here. Once again, congratulations to the 5 really neat, hardworking kids for the walking school bus. And thanks to Ben Barber again and Deb Mullen for walking those 5 individuals to school and home every day. So they had a great time. Parent-teacher conferences were also held last week for the elementary school, virtually, of course, and we had a wonderful turnout. A number of teachers had 100% participation, so that was a plus. The 4th grade went on a field trip to Bluff Point State Park in Groton, Connecticut last week. So thank you to Amanda Zadora for coordinating that event. She did a wonderful job. Vision to Learn, of course, you learned about that. It really neat equipment. It took them maybe 4 minutes to screen 20 kids in a classroom. It was just really neat thing to see. And then finally, thank you to Mr. Justin Young and for organizing the High Five Friday. I know there may have been a couple of you individuals there. It happened on October 29th. He recruited 10 to 15 local firefighters that came to give the elementary students a high five as they were dropped off from parents and getting out of the bus. So that was a really, really neat thing for the kids. And then finally, welcome to Heather Travers, the new administrative assistant. She's top notch, doing a wonderful job at the elementary, as well as Sarah Maynard, the new media center specialist. So that's it at the elementary.
Thank you, Larry. It's good to hear. And that must have been a lot of fun for the kids with Justin and the firefighters and EMS with the high five. I saw the pictures online. It looked like a great, we had fire prevention week. That was fun too, but this looked like a lot of fun. Okay. Where am I now? Dr. Jones.
Okay, good evening. As Superintendent Smith said, our number is 936 students. Of the 936 students, we currently have 225 students under special education. We have 76 with 504s. Our out-of-district number 2 months ago was at 30. Last month it was at 28. This month it's at 25. So that's really good. We're dropping in that aspect. Bradley School, Windham County has a total number of 19 students. Of the 19, 11 are Thompson students. We're currently hosting Putnam, Killingly, Brooklyn, and Plainfield. Our percentage is at 24%. Open positions in the department. We're currently hiring for 2 paraprofessionals. We did hire for a dual certified kindergarten teacher, as well as a grade 1 special educator who will be starting on Monday, November 22nd. The 2 paraprofessionals, one is at Mary R. Fisher and one is at the high school. And lastly, CHR has started in the middle school. They're here on Thursdays for wraparound services for families and students. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I don't see Shannon.
Shannon was good to see.
Okay. All right. Since Shannon is not here, I'm going to move on to Michelle G. Is that okay?
I'm going to pronounce it for you. It's Jamarinaro. Good evening.
Jamarinaro.
Jamarinaro.
Okay.
So over the last month, I completed the substitute pay comparison encompassing the 6 districts that we looked at. I did attach that to the board's agenda tonight. We completed a paraprofessional contract analysis for Killingly, Putnam, and Thompson. Our findings were that while our pay is slightly less than Killingly, our benefits exceed what other towns are offering, including sick time and health benefits. I'm working with HD Seeger and Travelers to update our risk management program and training modules for the school employees. We'll be working with them to update the whole system to present it to Melinda for next school year. And I'm going to partner with Heather Burns for a virtual frontline university this winter to maximize our frontline program. That platform has a wide range of time and attendance, HRMS, personal growth and recruiting and hiring benefits that we are not using currently. So that university is going to be instrumental for the next 6 to 8 months for us. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Just a question. I thought the substitute pay was just on certified and not certified. I wasn't aware about the certified retired teacher's salary.
Danielle, that's more of,
Danielle handles certification for us.
Teacher, if you come back to work at a long-term basis, your salary is compared to that of someone that you're level with experience.
Right. So we're going to put that on next month's agenda to talk about, the sub rate. But Michelle did do that analysis and thought you might like to take a look at it.
Bill Birch, you want to go over what's going on with are we wrapping up all our projects or?
Yeah, we are wrapping up our projects. The roofing project, I'm gonna give it a shot and say we're probably at 98% on that. They've got a couple of punch list items that they're still working on. The masons have to come back because they have to make some changes where they interfaced with the Turtle Lot building. They've got some more landscaping to be done to clean up, but basically the building is tight. So that's the important part. As you know, we went over the solar project and the possibility of that. And also at the same time, we've been doing test borings and some civil engineering work up at the track to see what the possibility is of replacing that track at some point and what that cost would actually be. The security project is moving along. You can see some progress out there. Everything with that is still painfully slow, but we are getting through it. And besides that, we are getting things together for the winter. Hopefully there won't be any snow, but if there is, it'd be nice to be prepared for it. And as Mr. Angelo mentioned, the clock is working.
And Mr. Birch, could you just give an update on the security gates too?
Well, yeah, that is the security project. That's the last part of it is that, we're really actually, the big thing is we're actually waiting for the fencing contractor and the gates to show up. The site work's all done. The poles are in, the bases are in, the underground is all done. So we're actually just waiting for the gates to show up.
Thank you.
I just had a comment to make just real quick. I just wanted to say, over the years, we've heard a lot of horrible compliments, well, not even compliments, but criticism about the hill and how it's looked. And I have to say, it's really starting to pull together and looking really nice. It's starting to smooth out and it just looks really nice. I just want to let you know that.
Well, thank
Thank
you
you to
for
the
that,
staff.
but we knew when we going into this that it was going to take quite a while for it to come around, but it has come around and really it does look a lot closer to what it did when Mrs. Turtelot built that building on top of the hill.
Yeah, thank you.
Heather, are you?
Danielle, is Heather on Zoom? No, she's not. She had a personal day today. No, she's not here.
Okay. Okay. Deb?
Hello. Fall season's wrapped up. The last group out was the middle school cross-country team that participated in the state open on Saturday. And our parent player meetings for middle school and high school took place last week. Our numbers are set, our coaches are set. Physicals are the 10th. Middle school will start the 15th, having practices and tryouts. And high school girls start November 29th, the Monday after Thanksgiving, and all the other sports for the winter start December 2nd. And we're up and ready to go. Looking for people to help work the games in the evening, and that's where we're at. Any questions?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, football is doing really well. We only have one loss. I have a big game this week against Cheney, and it's also senior night at Ellis, if you're interested in appearing. Come down and see that.
My son plays. They're having a great year.
Yeah. JV's undefeated right now.
What night is that game, Deb?
Friday night.
Friday night?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the CIAC rules on fans at the, hopefully basketball like we've had?
We're waiting for the final. They gave us a brief synopsis of what they thought it was going to look like, but they had to go back to the health department and the State Trainers Association, come up with their guidelines. They're back and forth. Right now, we know everybody's going to be wearing masks if they're practicing, the question, or sitting on the bench or coaching. The issue that they're talking about is people that are actually competing. If it's a sport where there could be some issue with safety, such as gymnastics or wrestling, then they won't have to wear a mask while they're actually competing, or cheerleading when if they're stunting. But any time they're sitting on the bench or cheering from the bench, they have to have a mask on.
What about fans?
Fans are wearing masks. That's a
But no,
no-brainer.
will they allow fans in now, or is it still going to be just Zoom?
I think it's going to be up to the districts, but also the leagues are going to be involved because as you're seeing behavior with the children, the fall season with our volleyball parents coming into different facilities, we don't have it here, but my colleagues have experienced it. Parents are becoming more boisterous, not listening, having issues with them not wearing masks, even though we're trying to keep the kids safe to be able to finish their season. It's become another whole problem that people are dealing with. So I'm not sure how the leagues are going to come out with how we're going to approach it for the winter. Everybody's got different ideas what they want to do.
So that could be an increase in security as well.
Oh, most definitely, especially when I'm scanning my group right now and I have 2 people on staff who are willing to help. So I usually need 6 people. So I'm already in the hole starting today. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you, Deb. Okay, Bob, you are next.
So far, year-to-date spending is at 28%. Last year, we were at 27.8% of overall budget. Encumbrances are a little bit lower than last year. This year, we're year-to-date at 66.2%. Last year, we're 66.4%. Current projected spending with the current level of encumbrances is 94.2%. Last year was 94.2% at the same time. I just want to give a special note for tuition, special ed tuition and transportation, because I know that's always a big point, but projections right now for transportation is 335 over, which is even with last month. Tuition projection is 548,000 over, which is $150,000 less than last month. Some of the changes are that we've brought some kids, Chris has brought some kids back into the district from the Bradley program, and then we've had some kids from satellite Bradley places that are being brought back on campus to the Bradley place on campus. So that through that effort right now, we're projected to be $150,000 less, but we're still 548 over. Just a couple of things as you're going through the budgets. We talked about that the additional VOAG tuition money going towards security. If you look at adult ed, for example, it looks like we've overspent, but that's because we get the second grant payment around February, and that should even out when we get the second payment. The other question that was raised was,
Yeah, how's the split with the HR director? And right now, the split is 70% is paid by the Board of Education, 30% is paid by the town. Every couple of weeks, I send a bill to the town for reimbursement. So it's used as an offset. So sometimes the number will fluctuate. But that's the split as it is right now. The Cafeteria Fund, our year-to-date computed operating position, which is the number that I report to the state and to the auditors, we're $18,800 in the black. And that is because of some outstanding grants. They're pretty slow with the food grant reimbursements. Right now, they're about 2 to 3 months behind. So we've got about $70,000 worth of reimbursements that we're anticipating from the state nutrition programs for the cafeteria. And that's at the last meeting, Kathleen had asked for a list of the grants, and I sent that in. So did you guys get it? Yeah, okay. So you got that today, and that way you can see, we were talking earlier about some of the COVID expenses and where that money is going, so you get an opportunity to see where that money is being used for. That's it. Any questions? Just Kathleen.
All right, have you finished making the year-end account transfers to bring the budget?
For last year?
You know how you bring not how I'm saying this terminology wise, but we always got a list of
Budget transfers.
you bring the budget to actual by transferring money between the accounts.
Yeah, and I
Right,
can bring that.
we always got a list of those.
Okay, I'll bring that to the
And
next
we have
meeting.
to agree to that. We vote on that. Correct, Bill?
Yeah.
If they were sizable transfers,
Right, I mean,
we
not
did.
the
If
little
it,
stuff, but
if
the
it's a
bigger
few
stuff.
dollars here and there,
Right.
it didn't affect
And-
the overall.
I have a breakdown of the entire
Yeah,
year.
well,
so-
there would be some sizable ones this year. And we always got a list of those that we as a board would agree to. Not that we're gonna say, no, we can't, but I mean, we would get a list of those.
Yeah.
account Transfers.
I have the list, and I'll bring it to the next meeting, the next board meeting to vote on. And I'll get it to you beforehand so you can look
Yeah,
at them.
and that's basically what not the budget, but the finance committee does. It comes before the finance committee, subcommittee.
Okay.
So you want that to go to the subcommittee and have a subcommittee meeting?
Be the next meeting. Yep.
Sounds good. Any other questions?
I have a quick question. The
Danielle.
magnet school transportation, is that something we cover? Because I know they go pretty far. And there's only 3
Yeah.
or 4 students that go.
It's one of those funny grants that when we do get reimbursed for it, we don't get the money goes to the town.
Okay.
The town actually budgets it as income. Most of our kids that go to magnet school programs are programs that are run by EastCon. EastCon submits the cost of the magnet school transportation to the state on their behalf, and they charge us the balance of what they don't get reimbursed for.
Okay.
So that would just cover ACT and the Quinnipiac Middle College. The VOAG school is not a magnet school, so there's no reimbursement for that. The reimbursements have averaged around $5,000 to $6,000. It's not a large sum of money. Okay.
So basically, we're on track money-wise, spending-wise with last year, which we ended up in the black last year, so we're okay. That's good. Okay, that's it. We've heard from administrators, so we're gonna go to some old business now. And you have in your packets the 2 contracts that are impacted by, that are significantly, are really impacted by this Hopefully, we're not going to school on June 19th, but we could be. It's the custodians and the secretary contracts on the Juneteenth holiday. And per the contracts, they are afforded any day declared a legal holiday or day of mourning by the president or governor shall be granted as a day off with pay, providing schools are not in session. I'm not sure it's the terminology. If schools are in session, they don't get it as well, we wouldn't have it because it's a holiday, so we would give everybody the day off, so.
They'd be granted a floating holiday. If for some odd reason we had another 12 days of snow like we did my first year
Right.
here, and it pushed us up till then they would be granted another floating holiday.
Right. So this does bring their holidays up to 15 days. Counted.
Correct.
Right. And I can see with our present administration in Washington, we may see a Native American Day, a Hispanic Day, a Polish Heritage Day. When does this end?
I don't know, but once you give somebody something, you can't.
I'm not saying that, but I think 14 holidays is a lot on top of all the vacation time, on top of personal time, on top of sick time.
Well,
it's a lot. It's in the contract. There's nothing I can do about it. But that's something we need to talk about. When does it end?
Well, we can't reopen the contract.
I'm not suggesting that now.
I know you're not. But when we go back to negotiations, once we've given them this, they have a floater in here.
The secretary's contract isn't final, so really you're still working on that one.
Yeah, I know, it's.
So this was kind of my point the last time when we discussed this, and, you know I made a little bit of a humor to it, but at the same point, when some of our current holidays due to naming issues get revoked, which I would say would probably happen in the future as things start to change, do we get those days back? I mean, or does that have to wait until a contract is reopened? So for instance, I'm just going to put this out there. Say Columbus Day gets revoked. Do we get the day back? I mean, and I'm not looking for an answer. I'm just to like what Bill is saying.
They'll rename it. They'll never take it.
Well, I know it's Indigenous People Day, but what I'm saying
And
is
it'll
it
still be
may
a-
not be a recognized,
It will.
some of the holidays that we currently have may be in the future not recognized as a holiday, is what I'm saying.
That
So-
may happen.
I'm not going to talk about this because it affects me in a way, but I do want to say my job, they took away Veterans Day. We had to work. They took away Columbus Day, you know what I mean? So, but I'm not a union person. So in a non-union world, that's what happens.
And if that happens, then I don't know, we don't have language in the contract to take it away.
Right.
We can't make the Juneteenth holiday the floating holiday?
I thought we
Well,
did
that
that.
would be next time we negotiate the contract.
But
So,
what did we vote? I thought we voted June 19th as a recognized holiday the last time. Not, maybe it wasn't the last meeting, the one before.
We tabled it.
Okay.
all right. But we're not a negotiating committee here. We have these contracts to work with. And according to these contracts, that's what this says.
So is this a case where we go to the union reps and we come to an amicable decision, or how does that? No? Okay.
Contract's a contract. We can't change it. Only next negotiation, we could change it if we wanted to. Not if we wanted to. We could
Right, but
try to
what
do it.
happens if, well, what happens if it gets to a recognized holiday, which I believe it already is, correct?
It's federal.
All right, so now that it's been a federally recognized holiday, do we have to address it with the unions?
We have to give it off. We have to in the contract. It says any declared legal holiday. It's a legal holiday.
So do we just vote on making an amendment?
There's not really nothing to vote on. They gotta.
Yeah,
get
but
it.
they're in breach of contract because it's not listed here. If they take the day, right, it's right, but it's not in the listing of the actual
Well,
holidays is what I'm saying. It could be,
it will be
you see what I'm saying? It's semantics, it's a technicality, whatever you want to call it, but just saying.
You're right. We really don't need to approve it because it's there.
We could, I can write up a memorandum of agreement with the union and just revisit it in case something changes with the rest of the holidays on the list.
I think we should just, and it's, just to cover both sides of the negotiation table. That's all.
Well, next time, yeah, when it comes up, yes. Okay. Then we'll just agree to Juneteenth.
Yeah.
We agree to disagree.
Okay, under new business, we have preschool discounts for siblings discussion approval.
So we currently have a set of twins that are both attending our preschool program, and the teachers actually came to me to ask if the board would entertain any kind of a discount for the second child in a family who's both in the preschool program. I guess other districts give a 50% discount for the second child. And so I felt like that wasn't something that I should decide, that should come before the board, because I know that the preschool tuition funds are tied into the town. And so, it's up for discussion if you'd like to give a discount for the second child, but we do have a situation where there's twins currently.
As a grandfather of twins, I'd say give them the 50% off because it's so expensive to have one, but to have two, that you gotta buy double of everything.
I'm a twin, so I'm for it.
As a parent of twins, go for it.
Yeah, I'm surprised we don't already have that.
I thought we did.
We don't, each one is paying us, it's based on the family income and it's a sliding scale. And so each child is considered separately. And so the teachers, actually, this is coming from our preschool staff, they're advocating because they feel like it's the right thing to do for those families.
Yeah.
I agree, it is.
We've had triplets in the school before. If we had triplets in there, then what would we do? Give another 50% on the third child?
I thought we did that when we had the triplets.
I think so.
I won't mention their names, but I thought we did give a discount.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't say their names.
There's nothing written. I've not seen anything written,
They
so.
just graduated a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought we
their
had,
name is this long.
maybe I'm wrong. But
Well,
yeah, I thought we did.
I would be in favor of that. That's sure, yeah.
There's a recommendation to go forward, right? Not to go back.
Yeah, do we get a rebate for those that have already gone through? So do we have to can we put that on next month's agenda so we can vote on it? Or what, how does this work?
Do it now.
But I would like to see a recommendation of what the discount would be. What are we charging? Well, it's a sliding scale.
So it's a
what
sliding
are they
scale.
recommending?
So they're recommending 50%. It's a sliding scale, so each child's tuition could be different. Depending on what the family can afford, it would be 50% of what the first child pays.
I mean.
Do we need to vote on it? Can we just instruct the superintendent to make that change?
And the program is carrying itself?
Oh, it is carrying itself. Bob knows, Bob's busy collecting preschool tuition. And we do turn money over to the town, around what, 30,000 a year?
specifically for pre-K. And then the town uses it for whatever, but the 50, that's well in line with a couple of different districts. The income is probably around, this year, it's going along at about 1,000.
And certainly 50% of a couple of tuitions is not going to make or break this program.
No, there can't be that many second siblings in the program too, so it's.
At Green Acres, we had 7 sets of twins out of there around the same 5-year span, so it can happen.
In the water.
And the 55%, the preschool supply budget actually doesn't come out of the Board of Ed. It comes right out of that preschool tuition. So.
Okay.
Should we
All right.
vote about it or figure that out this month? So then next month they would get.
I'll entertain a
I would just-
motion from someone to.
I would just say instruct the superintendent to make the change. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't
we,
want a
you,
motion. You wanna
unless you
vote on
want,
it?
unless you want to.
Yeah, well, it makes it legal.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a, go ahead, you have.
No, no,
twins.
all right,
I'm
well,
just
you're a
the
grandfather of
grandfather.
them, elder.
Oh.
I make a motion that we approve allocating a sliding scale reduction on tuition for pre-K for multiple siblings.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's approved. It's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion?
Should we put what the discount is in the motion or no?
No.
It's based on income.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, hearing none, I'll put the motion to the floor for approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Motion passes. If you turn to the last page of your packet, well, next to the last page, you have an organization chart here.
And so we added the HR director, the security coordinator, and the safety officers that we didn't have on the organizational chart.
Make a motion to approve the organizational chart.
I'll second it. This is Linda.
Any discussion on this? I think it's pretty clear. Right? We have a motion and a second.
Make a motion that we accept the org chart as outlined.
Bill and
In our
I already did it.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay,
I got the problem here.
yeah, maybe I need a hearing
Dog
aid.
eat your hearing aid too?
I even heard something. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. I've asked for discussion. Well, okay, then I'm going to put this motion to the floor for a vote. All in favor of accepting the organization chart for the Thompson Public Schools, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Motion passes. The next is on your last page. There is a budget timeline. It's coming up fast, people.
We just finalized it. So we go again.
Yes. Okay, so. And Linda's already checked the dates so that they don't fall on any holidays or.
Well, Valentine's Day.
Well, yeah, but that's not a federal holiday, so school is in session on Valentine's Day. I might, and that just means that nobody goes out to dinner.
Well, I gotta object to that. Because that's a
It's
big
your
day for
birthday.
me.
It's
Yeah,
your
it's Val's
birthday.
birthday.
And it's a,
I
and it's
already
a big,
told-
it's
I
a
already
big
told her
birthday this
that.
year. So
already
I'm wondering if we could change that to
21.
the 15th. I'm gonna request if we can change that so I can be at the meeting and change it to the
You're
15th.
30-20, right? No,
Yeah.
30-30.
30-30.
She's 21.
30-30.
That's a
I said
regular
I'd bring a
meeting.
cake.
That's a regular board meeting on the 14th, Val. It's not
a regular-
budget.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not gonna be here
it's
that
not a
day.
bud-
I'm just
a
letting you know that
regular board
early.
Meeting in your honor.
January 3rd, I won't be here, but
So the dates have been checked. As usual, we're on a pretty tight
okay, good.
schedule.
I'll be on a cruise ship.
We need to submit our budget to the town by March 1st. So our numbers need to be ready by March 1st. I'm assuming that we'll get them between the 10th and the 18th. Because our first budget workshop is the 18th and our Board of Ed meeting is on January 10th. So somewhere between them, we'll get our numbers.
Do you need a motion to approve this?
Yes, I need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the FY 2023 budget timeline. This is Linda.
2020, 22, 23,
I'm reading what it said here.
23, okay. FY 2023, okay. All right. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, Danielle seconds it. Thank you. All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any discussion other than? Nope. Okay, it is what it is. Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll put the motion to the floor for a vote. All in favor of accepting this budget timeline? Say aye.
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 All opposed? Nay? Any abstentions?
Donna Godzik abstains.
Donna and Jody. Okay.
I'm sure they'll come to all the meetings anyway, right?
No, you're more than welcome to join us.
I will come to a couple meetings, Mr.
And you can go, and you can certainly attend the Board of Finance workshops.
Oh, that'll be a plus.
We always value your input. And everybody in here, we always value everybody's input to our Board of Ed workshops and the Board of Finance workshops. Okay, next up is correspondence, and I did have some correspondence, but Zainab has left. And she got a copy of this anyway. It was an appreciation for her monitoring, helping them keep time on candidates night. Citizens' comments. I'll open the floor again for citizens' comments.
I have a citizen's comment or request. Danielle Carlson, 3 Rachel Drive, North Cornwall. I just wanted to acknowledge the new board members. We do have a couple in-house and on Zoom. We just quickly acknowledged them in the beginning, but we didn't formally say their names. And I knew that was a big moment for me. So we could, you know, formally, before they come in for their first meeting, just acknowledge them.
Any other comments?
You wanna do
I want to thank Donna and Jody again. I'm sorry that Sean isn't here tonight because I want to thank him again for his service to the board for the last 6 years. He may have been outspoken, but everything he said, he spoke with his convictions and with his beliefs. And every one of you added to this board, and I appreciate your service. And those new members coming on board, Matt, Jessica, Heather, I know you're joining us via Zoom tonight. We'll welcome you. Next month will be your first meeting. We've ordered your packet, Matt, and Heather and Jessica, you have your homework. So,
Keep it close.
yeah, lots of homework. You thought you were out of school, huh? And it's a good board to serve on. We're a cohesive group. We have a good group. We leave our political parties at the door when we step in. We don't always agree, but we walk away with a consensus. When we make a decision, it's a consensus decision. Okay, hearing no citizens' comments, I'll entertain.
Hold on one second. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you don't get a true appreciation of the amount of hours for the commitment of everyone on this committee. I know folks at home probably don't understand how much time it takes to actually participate and be engaged in these meetings. There's a lot of subcommittee meetings, the budget workshops. And I have a true respect and appreciation for every single person up here for the amount of time. And again, I don't always agree with everybody, but I think we walk away respecting each other for our opinions, whether we agree or not. So I do appreciate that over the last 6 years.
And I also would like to say the same thing, but I would also like to thank all the teachers, the administrators for all their work, their hard work that they do. One of my gratifications is going to graduation and seeing those, students graduate. Some of them you've seen grow up from preschool all the way up. It's a little heartbreaking seeing that. And, I'm going to cry now, but it's been a long 6 years and I really appreciate everything. And please, if you want to be involved, if you have a voice, come to meetings, speak up. I was very quiet at the beginning, but you really need to speak up and, do what you think is right. And, the students are our main priority. Every single person up here, respects everything that everybody does. And, we all don't see eye to eye at points, but I just want to say thank you to one person, Melinda Smith. She has turned this school around and, I appreciate everything that she does and I respect her. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Great. Okay, and with that, I will call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Great.
Wait a minute.
Thank you.